Hi, I have a friend who just started collecting animation art, and it occurred to me that it would be really helpful for me to talk about the questions that you should ask and things you should be thinking about when you first start collecting animation, and what you should be concerned with when it comes to dealing with a gallery and with buying the art. On ArtInsights website, I don't put prices on more expensive vintage Disney art. I want for people to call me and talk to me about the art instead of just clicking and buying. My thought is that when it comes to something that's, say, a Courvoisier setup from the late 30s or early 40s, and I have gone all over the web and I have looked at a lot of sites, and I'm never satisfied that there's enough information about the pieces that are on there, and I feel like it's important for people to be able to call and know what to ask and be armed with information before they feel confident enough that they should be buying. So here are some things to think about when you first start collecting animation. The first thing that you should be asking yourself is, what are your favorite characters? What are your favorite movies? And when you see the cell, do you like it? The same client has what I call the fever. And the fever is when you've started collecting animation and gotten used to the idea that the art is incredibly rare because, you know, production cells, they're each one of a kind. There's only one on the entire planet. And then you start adding to that, it's a key setup, meaning it's the background and the cell that belong together. Or it's a Courvoisier setup from Snow White. Or, for example, it's the Dormouse from Alice in Wonderland. Well, I have clients who specifically collect very, very specialized things, like, for example, the Dormouse from Alice in Wonderland. And for me, I'm always trying to match the cells to the collector. So when I get a Dormouse, I'm going to be thinking of that one guy and get really excited for him, and then, you know, call him immediately. So, you know, it's important for you to figure out exactly what your favorite things are and what make a list of the things that you're looking for and what you're wanting. And that way, when you see something that isn't on your list, okay, maybe you weren't thinking about it and all of a sudden you remember a movie that you were never thinking of before, like, for example, Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet, which is one of my favorite cartoons, and you realize, oh my gosh, I saw that, I love that, I want that. Well, that's different, but I think there's a really big difference between when you see something and you get a gut feeling of like, oh, that's really cool, I really like that, and oh my God, I have to have that, you know? And you have to wait for that feeling of, I have to have that. And there are a lot of galleries that do what we do, and I'm not saying just buy from me, because there are a lot of reputable, awesome people out there to do business with, but you want to look for a gallery that you can trust, because there's so much research to be done on your part in terms of what to look for and what to bear in mind, that you really are better off just finding someone that you can trust to be the person asking those questions, and, you know, they're your first line of defense for, is it authentic, has it been restored, do you know where it's been, what's the provenance, you know, is it the very best piece from that movie that you know, that your money can afford for that particular character. Those are things you're hoping you can trust your gallery to ask for you. But, you know, also it's important for you to know those are the kinds of questions you should have in your head. So you're looking at a piece of art on a website, and it's an old piece of art, say a Courvoisier setup of Johnny Fedora and Alice Bluebonnet, and you want to know, here's some questions you need to have answered. How big is, when you're on there, are they measuring the size of the art by the image size or the character size? Because Courvoisier setups are generally trimmed to the outline, and then there's a layer of plastic on top of that generally, and then that's the image size. So that's inclusive of the background that's been created for the image and the character. That's the image size. So find out what size the actual characters are. Now, some characters never get bigger than a certain size. So like, for example, the puppies from 101 Dalmatians tend to be really small. A really, really big puppy from 101 Dalmatians might be 3.5 inches tall. So, and then Tinkerbell, a huge Tinkerbell, like the biggest Tinkerbell I've ever seen is 9 inches, and that's way bigger than normal. Normally she's 3 to 5 inches. So, ask how big the actual characters are. That's something you want to know. You also want to know, has it been restored? And restoration is something that I cover on another video, but how do you feel about restoration? You need definitely to trust your gallery, because sometimes it's not even out of them wanting to keep you in the dark, but they don't know because they're not covering, making sure that they know everywhere your piece of artwork has been since it left the studio. To my mind, I think that you need to be able to trust or know where your piece that you're buying has been. They don't need to write every single person that's owned it on the certificate of authenticity, but you do want to feel confident that your gallery knows everywhere that your piece of artwork has been, and that they trust the tracking from where it is in their hands to when it left the studio at Disney, because that's important.